Hello, this is Storybooks channel. New videos are posted every day. Subscribe and click the bell.
It's like I was just getting a hard on myself just yesterday. What if it wasn't for your wise Alex? I'd be sitting here with tears streaming down my cheeks right now. Don't teach me how to live until I learn how to live. Jenna sighed. It didn't work out so well to make her friend happy. We're not used to backing down. We'll proceed slowly and carefully. Martin's not going anywhere. If Jenna decides that her friend needs a husband like that, then she'll have one. Oh, you and me, we're so screwed up. Well, you're a pretty good one now. New Year's Eve is over. Jenna and Alex have left, and the village counted since I signed a 10-day weekend. So we'll celebrate. We will not go against the head. A couple of times Martin stopped, raged husbands, not in 5. We had to deal with established wives who used rocks, frying pans, the usual countryside therapy, a rolling pin to the forehead. And the husband doesn't drink for a while. And then he tries to say goodbye to the world. Wounded. Frank the zoo technician, Clara's husband, tried to leave this earth. Clara swore and laid down that her husband didn't mean to. It was an accident. He was just cleaning the barrel of a redneck grin who cleans a loaded gun. But Fedia felt sorry for him. If he dared to do it himself, he might end up in the hospital. Clara begged Martin not to prosecute. The bullet went through and through. Didn't even have to go to the hospital. Local paramedic was golden. And there's no crime. Accidental or not, Martin knew he had to report it. But he felt sorry for Clara and Frank. Anna volunteered to go and talk. She's the one Clara could tell. It's not like talking to the police. There were no lights on in Clara's house. Only one window was dimly lit. Anna must have knocked on the table lamp. No one answered. Entered Clara was sitting in the kitchen, raised her completely empty, sickly eyes, and turned away to the window. Apparently she couldn't cry anymore, and she didn't want to talk to anyone. Anna walked over and called out to Clara. She didn't react. Anna sat down next to her, put her arm around the woman's stone shoulders and stroked her head. They sat in silence. Suddenly Clara, as if nakedly, put her head on Anna's shoulder and calmly, without tears, said, "I cannot. I've taken all my soul out. I'd leave, but I'm afraid for him. So I didn't. He loves me just the same. He knows all about me, but he thinks if he doesn't say nothing, it'll all work out. What about your William? What does he say? Strange, he keeps saying he loves me, but he doesn't insist I go to him. I think he's fine with it. It's like déjà vu already, this vision of manipulation and submission. James in miniature. But it doesn't seem too bad. Clara's already having doubts. If she's saying William should be dumped, she'll probably go on the defensive. We need to go easy on her. We have to find out what happened first. Clara didn't know. If Frank wanted to leave this world, he wouldn't have missed. She didn't believe in accidents either. With his hunting experience, he couldn't clean the barrel without discharging it. Why are you so protective of Frank? He's a good man. Too bad he got me. He could have been happy. So talk to him. You know you'll never meet anyone like that again. William's not fit for married life. You know she won't forgive you. But you try. So it was done. Now I gotta talk to Frank. I'm gonna go check on Frank next. Yeah, he won't talk to anyone. Frank lay pale with bruises under his eyes. He didn't look friendly, saying he was a city girl. I don't know you and I don't want to know you. Fedia, you should tell me what happened. Clara is fighting, trying to protect you. She doesn't know what happened. She's fighting so hard for you. Fedia, you have a beautiful wife. Do you believe it? The whole village knows what branches and horns I have. Oh, come on. I thought William had horns. You stole his girl. That's your business. You can have your horns, but you can't live without a tick. Why do you think she didn't go to William? Sees where the love is? Knows where she's needed. If you don't pull yourself together, she's not going to leave you for William. Clara and Frank are sure to talk now, maybe even save the family. But Martin didn't do anything to help. What happened? It's still a mystery. Han, you're not a very good detective. All you can do is comfort and wipe away tears. Martin was a better detective. He found out that Frank didn't mean to do anything irreparable. He wanted his wife back. More manipulation. But even Anna agreed that Frank could be forgiven. He did it out of love. Spring came suddenly. Yes, indeed, who expected spring after winter? Did the evil roads turn into streams? Have the buses stopped running? What about the buses? People stopped walking. And how can you go to the store only in rubber boots in the mud at every step? Anna didn't go anywhere. She got her orders and went to work. Sometimes Martin came in, but it was nothing to talk about. Jenna called, talking about her pregnant life. I ran. Clara praised her. With marital bliss. But spring was coming. The sun was breaking. The mud on the trees was drying. And something green was pecking at the trees. Anna went out on the porch to breathe and rejoice in the bright sunshine green grass. The first flowers that a little more and it will be summer. One day, when she went out to breathe, she saw a woman standing on the path. She didn't say anything, didn't ask anything. She just stood there and stared at the house. Anna's heart sank. She thought she recognized the woman. Anna was afraid to approach, and the woman shifted her gaze to Anna and suddenly cried. Anna was simply swept off the porch. With a cry of "Mama," she rushed over to the woman. Nancy had no memory of leaving the hospital, of whatever injuries she would be discharged with. Just walked away. Didn't remember the house or her daughter or her dead husband. Where she was going. She didn't remember either. She was found in the woods by mushroom hunters. She was unconscious. Not far away was a house, a woman, a witch doctor. That's where they brought her. The healer treated her for a long time. She had fractures in the wall and wondered how she had found herself in such a state in the forest. Nancy couldn't tell. She couldn't remember. The healer's name was Kelly. She had lived in the woods for 30 years. People from the surrounding villages came to her, asking for help. Kelly treated them with herbal remedies. They came with insomnia headaches, fractures, tricks with their backs turned off. If Kelly realized she couldn't help them, herbs couldn't cure them. She advised the poor souls to see a doctor. Kelly drank Anastasia from the army of herbs, prepared strange with a pungent odor ointments. And after a year, Nancy already walked in the forest, collected mushrooms and herbs, even went to town for groceries. That's how she stayed in the house in the woods. Where to go? She didn't know. The healer was right. A recent trip to the market in the mountains turned out to be fateful. Meat, fish, eggs he and Kelly, and brought village vegetables grew themselves. But they still had to go to town sometimes. Now they were out of cereals and sugar. Nancy walked along the rows. She looked at the goods at the price of a hair. Nastia, are you there? Nancy looked back to her disheveled and staggering, approached a heavily drunken woman. Gray, unwashed braids, swollen face, and killing from her feet the smell of booze. Molly, your aunt. You don't remember. I'm sorry, I don't know you. Well, you don't, I do. She left her daughter and took in her grandfather. And you don't know me. Molly yelled all over the market. People looked at them. Somebody even stopped to see what was going to happen. Oh, you ungrateful bitch. You owe me for my daughter. Whose daughter is mine? People, look at this bastard. Okay, men don't want to know about children. But my own mother abandoned me, and she lives like a bastard. Your name? Let's step back and talk. Let's talk. I have something to say. There's a public garden, there are benches. As we walked from the market to the public garden, we got quite loose. Nancy was afraid she'd collapse on a bench and fall asleep. I underestimated equal opportunity, and still managed to say, bring me a beer. Tell me where your daughter is and cut Asia off. Nancy ran off to get a beer to rouse the thief and started asking who she was and where her family was. Molly answered only for a sip of beer, periodically knocked out. So the conversation was long. Nancy learned a lot about herself, how sneaky she was, threatened her beloved and her husband, and then planted her girl and ran away. Thought she could buy off the apartment. It's not an apartment, it's not an apartment. I fed your daughter. I dressed her and loved her like my own. She ran away ungrateful, left me for her grandmother, ran away to this one, what's her name? But we made it that way. River, no, I have no place to live. She'll come crawling back and they'll talk about more. No, not more. The fiery speech is over. Eyes closed, Molly fell asleep. But Nancy realized that her daughter was living with her grandmother in the village of. The fact that Nancy, the mother, died long ago, Molly did not say, did not know. Nancy put a bottle of beer on the bench, put 100R in her hand. There was nothing more she could do. Nancy was shocked. She has a daughter. What had to happen for a woman to forget about her child? She didn't remember, she didn't feel it. And the girl grew up without her mom. They're all grown up now. At first, she decided she shouldn't go to her daughter. Why would she want a mother who'd forgotten about her? But the witch doctor severely reprimanded her, saying that the daughter still does not know where her mother is. Neither alive nor dead. Don't worry, you've got a grudge for not remembering her. And she's got a grudge for remembering. Remembering and agonizing over not knowing where you are. So Nancy came. Her feet brought her to the house. No mistake. I was standing there, looking. Suddenly, this girl Nancy came out on the porch. The daughter didn't recognize it, just realized she cried. And the girl suddenly leaped off the porch and rushed toward her screaming mama. She recognized her. They stood hugging in the driveway. Gazing into each other, she saw the native knight's removed eyes, tired, aged in the face, still knowing nothing. She was sure that a woman with such a face could not have abandoned a child. Trouble had happened to her. Nancy gazed into the grown, beautiful woman who was her daughter and realized with horror that she didn't remember the little girl and would never know what it was like to watch your daughter grow up. Both realized that they would have to talk about their entire lives lived without each other, and the conversation would be long and hard. They entered the house. Nancy stares intently, trying to recognize something. If not recognize it, at least feel it. It's her house. No, I can't. Mom's dead. It's been a long time since you sat down, and at least let me look at you. I missed you so much. I always thought you'd find me. I'm sorry, I don't remember anything. I only know what I told you. She's still alive. I thought she'd been dead a long time. They talked about simple things to avoid talking about the important things. It was scary to start a conversation. Finally, Nancy made up her mind she would tell it like it was. Would her daughter understand? We'll see. They talked for a long time. She tried to figure out how to live her life. Not knowing anything about herself, she told her mother how they used to live before the accident, how she lived, then at first and then with her grandmother. Nancy was interested in everything. It was like she was living the life she could have had, because she had nothing to tell. Her whole life years lived in the woods, in the house of the village witch doctor. That's all. There was no other life. Anna cried from pity for her mother, from resentment at fate, which had treated the unfortunate woman so unfairly. Nancy cried with longing for a life not lived. It turned out that she had once had a very different life, happy with her husband and daughter. Mommy, are you going to stay and live with me? No, Anna, I'll come back. Kelly, it'll be hard on her alone. She's been her only family for so many years. I didn't know I had you. Now I do. I won't lose you when I come back. I don't know how the news spread through the village, but no one seems to have seen anything. The whole village knows that some strange woman has come to see Anna, and some swear it's her mother, Nancy, who disappeared a long time ago. But rumors are rumors, and I'd like to find out more, find out everything. So we sent Aunt Wendy. First of all, she's a neighbor. Secondly, she's in contact with Anna. And most importantly, she knew Nancy well. Aunt Wendy was worried. Had Nancy really turned up? Everyone was sure she was long gone. It's like a greeting from that Jenna. Where's she been all these years? Maybe it's not Nancy at all. Anna doesn't remember her mother very well. What if she's a fraud? I have to go and see the runaway mother with my own eyes. Go already. Maybe they need to save a duck. And the district police officer missed something when you need him? He's not here. Aunt Wendy went into the house. Who's sitting by the table? I can't see at once. The woman turned around, and the neighbor Aunt Nancy, aged, slimmed down, but exactly her, God, Nancy. Wendy entered the crypt and rushed over to Nancy. Wendy, I'm the neighbor. You wouldn't recognize me. Well, it's been years. Aunt Wendy. She doesn't remember anyone. Not even me. How could she? Grandma Masha's not old enough to live here. You don't know. She doesn't recognize anyone either. Every day she gets to know her daughter all over again. She has a senile disease. She doesn't remember anyone, like Marasmus. But she remembers her husband who died 10 years ago. Nancy, do you remember your husband? Aunt Wendy. She only knows what happened to her after the hospital. She doesn't know anything from before. She didn't even realize how she got so many fractures. You tell everyone. I know the whole village is waiting for you right now. That mom doesn't remember anyone. Don't let them ask questions when we meet. Okay, I'll go. Anna, have you seen Martin? No, he didn't come in yesterday either. But maybe he went into town. On her way out, Wendy gave Nancy another hug. She's back. Where did Martin go? Anna waited for him yesterday, but he didn't show up and he's not here today. When she went to town, she always asked him if he needed anything. Yeah, he'd have been back from town for 2 days doing something. He could have gone to a neighboring village, but he would have come back already. Anna got nervous. Something happened at night. She couldn't sleep. Anna went out on the porch. Martin was lying under the door. Anna sat down on the step and stroked my father, Martin. Do you know where your namesake is? My mom found him. Martin's missing. It's like a circle of people in nature. The next day, the village was worried sick. How did the district officer disappear? The third day went by. They found out that the day before yesterday, he was in the neighboring village. That's where the men got into a fight. They grabbed guns. That's why they called the police. Everything ended peacefully, and Martin left, but didn't return home. The men decided to drive along the road between the villages. What if they find something? Someone remembered that there was a hunting lodge nearby. We decided to check it out. It's unlikely there's anyone there out of season. But if we're going to look, we have to go everywhere. Yes, there was a bad country road leading to the camp, but it didn't go all the way to the farm. Through the forest, you have to go a couple more kilometers in a place where you have to turn off the road. There was a Martin car. It was immediately clear that there was trouble. The men jumped out of the car and ran to the farm. From afar, they saw that the door was open and someone was lying on the porch. They ran up. Martin, unconscious. There was a small pool of blood under him. We hustled, lured them in. Somebody called for an ambulance. Somebody yelled that we couldn't wait for an ambulance. We'd have to take him to the hospital. Nobody knew if he was even alive. They picked him up, put him on a blanket and ran, trying not to shake him too much, and carried him to the car. At the hospital, Martin was immediately taken to the operating room. The men were offered to go home from here. Anyway, they didn't leave. How will they go back to the village without finding out how the district officer? They didn't even call home. They didn't know what to say. 2 hours later, a doctor came out of the operating room, pulled off his mask, and said in a dull, tired voice, "Everything is all right." The men made it. Go to the village. Tell me, will your policemen survive? Now everyone began to call home and tell how heroically they had saved Martin. And that now he's safe. And no one called, they didn't realize. And she showed up, waiting for them to come back. They left in the afternoon and still no sign of them. Good, Clara had guests to come running and tell her. Nancy could see that her daughter was in a state of distress. Anna, who's Martin? Ah, the precinct officer? Well, yes, he must be a very good policeman. If it's the third day her daughter's been so worried. Anna started to go into town, to the hospital. Nancy could hardly stop her. Where to? At night. They won't let you in the ICU after the operation. You'll go tomorrow morning. It's not just a district officer. If you're such a fussy mom, promise me you won't leave. I want you to meet Martin. Will you catch up? I'm not leaving. Intrigued. I won't leave without seeing Martin. Are you in a serious relationship? We can't be in a relationship. I've heard the name Simmons, which is a very famous surname. That's not the word. It's high society. I don't belong there. That's what Martin said. Come on, Mom, we haven't talked about it at all. I think if a young man, as you say, from Jenna's high society, works as a district officer in the village, he has his own opinion on everything, and he won't let anyone interfere in his private life. Whoever he loves, he'll be with. I don't think he cares about social differences. That's what I'm getting from your story. I'd like to see him. Anna left for town in the morning. At the hospital, she was told that the Simmons patient was doing well and had been moved to a room. You can go through. Just don't bring him anything. You can't. And don't ask him anything. It's not advisable to talk to him. Martin was pale, halting, but quite alert. He even gave Anna a sort of smile at the sight of him. You can't feed him. You can't talk to him. What to do with him most of all. Didn't want to know what was wrong. I decided to be patient. I'll find out later. She felt so sorry for Martin that she almost cried. Lying there so pale and miserable and lonely. Martin couldn't see how pale he was, but he didn't feel unhappy and lonely. While Anna, with a sad look, sat beside Martin in the village and puzzled at their affair. How did we miss it? The girl must be saved. She doesn't know who she's messing with. Maybe her mom will tell her. But what can you do with a mom like that? She's a freak herself. She went to see Martin. Every day he was fast. It was hoped that he'd be discharged in a week. Finally, Anna decided to ask Martin, "What's wrong?" "I know," stopped by the cabin. He didn't even realize who was there. Right from the doorstep, I got a punch in the face, and then a knife in the side. When he woke up, no one was there. He wanted to leave the house, but he lost consciousness. The investigator was here. He's a smart guy. He'll figure it out. You don't want to tell me? No, come on. I told you the whole truth. You're like a lie detector. You can't get it together. Well, you don't want to say it. Have you called your parents? Why would they want to hear such news? They can't come anyway. They'll be worried. I'll be there in a month. I'll be fine by then. I'll go and see what everyone's talking about. How are you? I'm not talking anymore. My mom came to see me with all her strength. What mom? You don't have one. My mom is alive, but she's lost her memory. She wanted to leave, but decided to wait for you. She wants to meet you. Yeah, it's sad. You wanted to marry an orphan. And then there's her mom. What was that just now? He's not recovered. He's delirious. How do I react? It's a joke. But it's never been a joke before. Or is that a hint? Then propose. Here's my hand and heart. What's a hint? Nerves are not ironclad. Anna didn't say anything. She just couldn't think of anything to say. You can't yell, can you? Yeah, especially since no one was proposing. Anna, I've been wanting to ask for a long time, but I didn't dare to think about it in the hospital. I kept resisting, but it's no use. I love you. Will you marry me? No flowers, no ring, but you'll get it later. Martin, I'm not ready to answer yet. That's good. I hear what's important. I'll wait for now. I would have said yes if it was just about her and Martin. But behind him was the great Simmons, and behind her was her mom's memory loss. They're not comparable. How long is Martin going to be the village police officer? Not long, not his level. He'll go to New York, return to the familiar circle of the great and famous. What will he do there? Anna? No, she can't go there. She wouldn't survive. And she'll never adjust and adapt again. We've had enough of that. She still visited Martin in the hospital, trying to be discreet, not to provoke unnecessary conversations. She decided that I would visit him while he was in the hospital, and when he recovered, we would part. Martin wondered what he had said wrong, how he had offended her. He saw that she was drifting away, but he didn't understand what was wrong. When Martin returned to the village, he was greeted as a hero, although they did not understand what had happened. Martin guffawed. All the best investigators in the country are working on my case. They've even brought in psychics. As soon as they dig up something, I'll tell you. Anna acted like he didn't propose calmly, politely, distantly. Met my mom by introducing my friend Martin to the local precinct. And that was it. Not a hint of closer relations. Martin's acquaintance and precinct officer was lazy. What's going on? He came to me and asked me head-on, do you love me? Totally irrelevant. Tell me, how long are you going to play precinct officer here? No, not long. That's the answer. I'm not going to New York with you. I don't want to be picked up by a penniless hick who will spend his life trying to live up to high standards. I've already tried to live up to it. It didn't end well. I'm not asking you to go to New York. I'm asking you to get married. Anna's a bit of a mess. Her mind got all mixed up. Marry her in New York? No, he'll marry her and lock her up in his house and live as he pleases. We've been there. Martin looked at me and smiled. I didn't want to cry. What kind of life is this? Wrong again. Again, the extraordinary asshole. Nancy, having heard the whole conversation, decided to intervene. Martin, I'm sorry, but I didn't realize you weren't planning on coming back to New York. No, I don't. Especially since he doesn't seem to like New York. Anna was stunned. Jesus. What kind of a fool is that? They tell you one thing and you hear another. But the fact that he decided to quit his job as a precinct officer, she heard right. Not a village policeman. Not a second-rate musician with famous parents. What did he decide to do? Martin, you've decided to leave here. Didn't you? Where and what do you plan to do? I'm not curious. I've lived without my daughter for so long. I want to keep up with everything that's going on in her life. Martin had a benefit for an actor. He was brilliant, and his enthusiasm would have been enough to fill a crowd. But there were only two spectators, Anna and Nancy. It turned out that a few years ago, after graduating from the institute and a short work in various places where his father tried to attach him, Martin decided that he would never work neither in the prosecutor's office nor in the bar. He even thought it was a mistake to go into law. It wasn't interesting. It became interesting when he met his classmate who worked in a private agency. That's when Martin decided that he would become a detective and open his own agency. He evaluated his chances, thought that he would do quite well. He read a lot of smart books, worked in 2 agencies, saw how things worked. But then he started having problems with his father. He was getting more and more insistent on reorganizing his son. And Martin had to run away to the country. But the dream of a private agency, though cherished, and work as a district officer considered invaluable experience. Now Martin felt it was time to realize his dream. Even before the hospital, he received a license and drew up all the necessary documents. There were still organizational issues: to find a room, to equip the office, to recruit employees. Martin was so convincing that Anna immediately believed that he would succeed. The question was where this agency would be. With them in the village, put up a sign, Village Detective, and you will reach you goose local aunties, who missing goat to find and who to follow her husband. You will sit in ambush to find out who at Grandmother Maria all the roses on the plot cut, and they will pay you with eggs, cottage cheese, and carrots. That's funny. Nobody in the village wants a detective. You don't want to go to New York? Then we'll move to the city. Or won't you come with me? What will your parents say? They're hoping you'll come home. Anna, I thought you understood what my parents are like. They love me very much, but they've accepted the fact that the boy's grown up and can make his own life. Now Martin would disappear for a day or two, come back and report on how things were going. He found an office space. He'd tell me about it. And his eyes lit up. City Center. First floor. Entrance right off the street. Great will be visible sign above the door. It's small, but there'll be a reception area and a staff office with an equal window. You found the employees too, didn't you? Anna had her doubts. She thought an agency should be staffed by serious adults. It's more solid. What's this? 2 law students with backpacks and headphones in their ears, and a weird-looking computer genius. But Martin assured me they were professionals for solidity. There is one. Martin squinted at Anna and smiled. Anna, I still need an experienced ad man. You know, price advertising, releases, dealing with the press. I don't have anyone in mind. Well, we'll have to think about it. Perhaps there is a candidate, but the girl is capricious, willful, and lives far away in the village. That's right. You can't travel all the way from the village. We'll have to look for an apartment, buy one. We can't afford it now. We'll live on a rented one, and then we'll see. But I'm afraid Dad won't like it. It's not right for his son to live in a rented apartment. He'll start manipulating his health again. Anna and Martin have applied to the registry office. They decided to move in and get married right away. Martin informed his parents and made a condition that no wedding with celebrities and press. Dad shouted that it's impossible, they won't understand him. He's a public man. And Mom suddenly agreed and reminded her husband that it wasn't his wedding. Nancy was going home to Kelly. There was a peace of mind. Her life made sense, but her daughter is going through a major life change. She didn't need her mom's help. Nancy missed the woods, missed home. She wanted solitude. She was tired of living among people. She was worried about Kelly, how she was doing on her own. Martin came in, and right from the door, she said, "You can pack your bags. The apartment's been rented by the ready office. The employees are chomping at the bit. We'll get the sign tomorrow, put it up. Then we can get started. You still haven't told me what the agency's name is. Anything fancy, creative, or the other way around? Classic Dr. Watson or Simmons. Something like that. I don't want to. I'm exhausted. Anna and Detective Howe. You did the paperwork when I didn't know anything at all, and you didn't call me for a job or make an offer. You were so sure I'd accept. What an ego. I wasn't sure, but I hoped. And if you hadn't said yes, it wouldn't have been a reminder that happiness was so possible. You know, the sadness of unfulfilled dreams. It's not a bad feeling. What, you don't like the name? I think it's great. To be honest, I liked the name Anna a lot. It was especially heartwarming that Martin decided to name the agency that, when there was no mention of love between them. While Anna was eating complexes about her imperfection and social abyss, he had already decided everything. She made a principled fool of herself. We are poor but proud. We don't need other people's money. So many nerves and demanded. So much time wasted. Turns out it's simple. Trust your feelings. That's exactly what Anna didn't know how to do. The experience of the past years had taught her that for love you have to pay a long and humiliating price. Martin had no such experience, so he did not doubt his feelings and saw no reason to give up happiness. Anna and Martin packed their things. Anna fit everything into 2 bags. What did it come with? It would leave with. But Martin was like a lady from a children's poem who put a sofa, a suitcase, and a valise in the luggage. There were big and small boxes and stacks of books in the room. Things scattered everywhere. There was nothing in the apartment he rented. Were you deciding what furniture to take from Martin's house? No, Martin, we're not taking that desk. It's beautiful, but it's too big. If we put it there, we'll be walking on the walls. And the bed, you're kidding me. The whole room will be taken up, and I'm not saying that your furniture is not suitable for a standard apartment. We'll take the sofa from the guest room. It's a small sofa bed. Martin, will you sell the house? It's a shame. No, I really like it myself. It's going to be our country residence. We'll visit on weekends and holidays. Your mom, she won't spend the rest of her life roosting in the woods. Maybe she'll at least want to come for the summer. With her grandchildren? Maybe the famous grandparents will come to visit. How long can you wander around the world? Jenna will come with the baby, so the baby won't have to be in the city. So we won't sell the house. We can use it ourselves. Iselle came, loaded with furniture, boxes, and sat on the porch, happy and scared. What will this new life be like? But Anna was worried about a question from the past. Martin never told her who tried to take him out and why. I knew there was a trial scheduled, so they'd found the culprit. But Martin dismissed the whole thing as uninteresting. Why do you want to know, Martin? I need to know so I don't make up things that didn't happen. I don't want to go to trial. Why do I need to hear in detail who stood where and hit you with what? I don't want to go to trial. I'm afraid if I told you, you wouldn't believe me. Try me. That day, Martin, after dealing with the troublemaker, they were on their way home. A call came in from an unknown number, and a man's voice excitedly said, "Martin, come to the camp. Something strange is going on here." Martin did not recognize the caller's voice, but turned to the village. He approached the cabin. Nothing strange. 2 men sitting on the porch, smoking. Didn't look like they had anything going on. I went up, introduced myself, said, "What's up?" "Nothing. Everything's fine." "Anybody else out there?" "Yeah, sleeping in the house." Martin went up the stairs, saw a man sitting on the bed, but it was hard to see him. The house was dark. The man got up, came closer, and Martin suddenly realized who it was. Anna's ex-husband, James, I think. "What did the policeman think I was gonna give you the form?" "No, I never give you mine." "And you're a fucking major. You get in my way without thinking who you're getting lost with. Didn't Anna tell you who I am? I'm her husband's boss. You want to run away. No one can run away from me. Martin watched and decided what to do. Two of James and James's buddies were standing behind him, and James was getting creepy. He's not a normal question. How long ago, or has he just lost his mind? But Martin didn't have time to do anything. Two men jumped on him, grabbed his arms. James rushed to the table, grabbed a knife, and stabbed Martin in the side. Martin did not immediately lose consciousness. I heard the men yelling hysterically at James. "What did you do?" "I told you to scare them." "We didn't sign up for an ear. Let's get out of here." And then silence. Martin woke up in total darkness, found the door by feel, and fell out on the porch. The terrible pain made him unconscious again. How long was he lying there? Doesn't know. Woke up in the hospital, in the intensive care unit. She was in shock. She couldn't be. So it's her fault. I knew it. I shouldn't have told you. Your crazy husband set it all up. And you were right to run away from him, but you chose the wrong guy. It happens. But you've wised up now. Look at me. I'm the perfect man. Couldn't be better. That's it. That's it. It's over. She's waiting. Empty apartment. We have to go. We spent a couple of days getting settled in. And then Anna got indignant. You brought me here to make me cozy. Take me to the office immediately. What do you say, Anna? The office looked solid. Center of town, wide street on the edge of the sidewalk. Trees say a tall, solid door. Large catkins flanking the entrance with leading rose bushes and hydrangeas. Above all this splendor shone the sign Anna and the detective, and in front of the entrance on the sidewalk stood, embraced by the detective and his Anna. You need a ride. She didn't hear. It was a sadness, a feeling of hopelessness, of being unable to fix or change anything. The divorce had been long thought out and calculated. Not about any unforgiven offense, revenge for treason. There was no outburst of passion. A sober, thoughtful decision. It is a pity that 5 years ago, when Anna fell into painful, humiliating relationship, so sober reasoning did not work. What is it that pains the soul? Anna let you down. James, already a few minutes after the ex-husband, impatiently stomped next to him. Yeah, if it's not too much trouble, the address. You're kidding. That's good. You're the one with the frozen look, like the world has fallen apart. Yeah, in a way it did. Maybe not all of it, but some of it fell off. Sitting in the car, Anna suddenly cried. She didn't even cry. Tears spilled out of her own self-pity, untapped from the last few years of despair and unfulfilled hope. James, naturally, decided that Anna was crying for lost loves, couldn't imagine life without him. She loves him very much. Other reasons for tears did not occur to him. He was accustomed to consider himself an irresistible man, the separation with whom no woman would survive. There were reasons why they fell in love with him hard and for a long time. You might say, fell in love. If he decided that a girl would be his so and so happened, not a single one could resist. That's exactly what happened to Anna. No love at first sight, no spark. On the contrary, he was of average height and ordinary appearance. Anna seemed to have problems with her intelligence. Self-esteem is off the charts. No doubts about his irresistibility. A peacock. He liked Anna. He fluffed his feathers and rushed to make an impression. Anna laughed derisively. In the end, bluntly said that she never liked men like James. No need to get hit on as a beau. It was a waste of time. She still couldn't explain to herself how it was that she'd fallen head over heels in love with James, couldn't breathe without him, and went to sleep and woke up thinking about him. It was as if Anna herself didn't exist. She dissolved into James if he wasn't around. She didn't live like she was under hypnosis, going somewhere, doing something. But until he showed up and snapped his fingers, she didn't wake up. She knew it wasn't normal. It's not love. It's some kind of obsession. But I couldn't help it. The happiness was absolute. James was there and nothing else was needed. For the first years of their life together, Anna's mind kept saying, I can't live without him. It seemed to her that even in her dreams, she thought about it all the time. James seemed to be satisfied with everything, but he lived his own life. He could say that he was tired, needed to rest, and disappeared somewhere for a few days. Anna didn't let herself wonder where he disappeared to. She drove away suspicions, let her ears pass, hints of friends sometimes on the verge of gossip. No need to think about it. If you start doubting, the world will fall apart. It was like her psyche was putting up blocks, keeping you from seeing the obvious. But James, apparently, without emotion, life seemed bland. Maybe he got bored. A quiet life with no outbursts. Maybe he wanted to shake Anna, frozen in his love. What he did was beyond a rational explanation. James came back from another vacation with some kind of excitement. Emotions beat over the edge, joked sincerely, without end kissed and hugged Anna. But at the same time looking with a sly look, as if prepared a surprise. But it's not time yet. Anna didn't notice any oddities. Beloved James was back. No matter what he did, the most important thing was that he was home. She looked with loving eyes, had happiness. James waited until she sat down at home and looking intently into her eyes, so as not to miss the slightest nuance, calmly mundane, as if talking about changing the wallpaper or the quality of toilet paper, said, "Anna, you are a smart woman. You will understand me. I'm terribly in love. I didn't even realize it could happen like that. How many casual liaisons have there been? But I've never had one like this. But this is overkill. Let him cheat. Live if you don't mind picking up the scraps. This isn't about cheating. It's about bullying. He's gonna swallow it. He'll come up with something worse. Jenna, how can you say that? You know my Sergei, that's why I'm telling you. I'm sorry, girlfriend. I've been wishing you happy holidays for years. Wishing you happiness. I didn't believe it myself. I was always waiting for some mischief from your Seryoga. There were many mischiefs. God had mercy on you. I'd only found out now, and you don't believe me. If I tell you now that you should run away from him, you'd think I was jealous, wouldn't you? I don't have a family, so I thought I'd screw you over. I won't even ask if you'll leave him or not, knowing you won't. I'm sorry, but someday you'll remember my words for God's sake. Not that I don't wish you happiness. I just know it won't be happy with James. It will be without him. I have no life. He's my soulmate. There are halves for an apple, a pill, and a heel. Which half is your James? 3 guesses. Oh, I'm sorry. I've been talking. Jenna sighed wistfully. I'm gonna go. Life went on. Anna was still living with James. She couldn't ignore the cheating, but she pretended not to. What James was living with, he was the only one who knew. Maybe he really realized that no good can come from good. No, he hadn't. They would have lived like that if James hadn't decided it was time to move on to a new phase. It's been a while. Boring. Anna was on her way to work and was already thinking about how she would meet James in the evening. What would be so delicious to cook for him? He likes canned fish, but they haven't sold live fish for almost a month. It's been so hot. They're not moving the fish. The seller at the market, from whom Anna always bought fish, said that they had brought it to him. Carp did not have time to sell. He left them in the aquarium, threw ice on them. In the morning he came and there was soup. Here they are. Near the bus stop stood an old man in a basket, his carp twitching. Anna bought a carp, ran back home. She realized she'd be late for work. Well, she'll figure it out somehow. She'll cook James a fish tonight. It's always when you're in a hurry to do something wrong that the door won't open. You can't get the key in. It's like there's a key sticking out the other side of the lock, but it can't be. Anna remembers locking the apartment perfectly. James is at work and won't be home until tonight. What's wrong with this lock? The fish was bouncing around in the bag. Anna fidgeted, the key twitching, the pencil case on the door. Suddenly the lock turned. The door opened. James, blocking the passage, hissed. What are you doing here? Why aren't you at work? I'm a fish here. You're a fish. Well, come on quickly to the kitchen, piss by the scruff of the neck from Velaka. But in the kitchen he put her on a chair and told her to sit quietly and not to leave the kitchen. So she sat there. She heard how they were murmuring, giggling, rustling something in the room. Finally her heels sounded and the front door slammed shut. Silence. Where's James? He's gone too. How can he leave when there's a crying victim sitting here? He went into the kitchen. knelt down in front of Anna and said, "Anna, I love you so much. I'm sorry, you fool. You realize that apart from you, everything is not serious. We're not going to get divorced over nothing. I'm sorry. Do you want to have a baby? I thought you wanted to." "Yeah, I did. And now I'm suddenly realizing what kind of life that baby's gonna have. It's not gonna be a daddy. There'd be a temperamental, hysterical mom." Anna suddenly thought that if now he will take Mistresses home, and it will be a trial balloon, she will have to run away from this house. With all the love in the harem, she is not ready to live. Suddenly, all at once, she realized that all love is gone. He experimented for a long time, tested her strength, and she didn't pass the tests. She broke. She looked at James like she was figuring something out. "Don't worry, I'm not leaving you. You don't change horses at the crossroads. You're my wife, a good wife. You love me, that's why I stepped on my own toes, as they say, and I'll stay with you. I think you'll appreciate what I did and be grateful that I chose you. I don't get it, you have something going on and you don't." James was clearly perplexed. He expected tears and hysterics. Anna's calm voice irritated him. "Don't you understand what I'm saying? For your sake, I'm giving up the woman I love. Do you appreciate that? No, if you don't care, then I'm doing it for nothing. Any other woman would be kissing my feet thanking me for not leaving her. And you're not reacting so well, are you? You really don't understand what I'm sacrificing. What about me?" There's panic in Anna's voice. "What about me without you? Can't you hear me? I told you I'm not leaving you. Don't you care? You can't appreciate what I did." Anna couldn't appreciate anything. She didn't understand what was going on. Dumping or not dumping. I was living or not living. My heart stopped. The thought of living without him. Yeah, it killed in my head. Why did he say that? Why didn't he just keep quiet? If he wasn't going to leave. She looked at James apprehensively. Why was it okay to do this to those closest to him? To an outsider, you'd be wrong to look noble. But to those you love, you'd hit them where it hurts. Honest Honorable doesn't hide it. He came and told me everything. Doesn't he realize how much it hurts? He knows there's no escape. I just can't get away from him. His eyes are triumphant. You're not going anywhere, silly girl. You're gonna cling to him and please him. As long as he doesn't leave you. She wouldn't let herself think about cheating. What's cheating got to do with it? He stayed with her. "James, my sunshine. Don't go away. Just stay with me. It's nothing. The main thing is to be with me." She couldn't think of anything else. "I had a nervous breakdown. Almost ended up in the hospital." James grinned smugly. Everything had worked out just as he calculated. Jenna's friend Anna couldn't reach her. It was unsettling. What was James? She had realized long ago. It was strange to her that in so many years, Anna had not seen what kind of monster she was living with. She hadn't seen the cheating, hadn't listened to her friends, had believed every noodle her adoring husband had hung on her ears. We can't wait any longer. Whoops, something's wrong. Bursting into the apartment of her friend, she saw a pale-life mummy who wandered around the apartment, not realizing where she was and what was happening. Tell me what your asshole did this time. Don't talk about him like that. You don't know anything. He's a wonderful, 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 unique asshole. How could you? He loves me. He sacrificed his own happiness for me. You're out of your mind. Sacrificed, huh? Aren't you his love and happiness? Didn't he sacrifice you? I think it was you. How will he live without happiness? How will you live? I'm not asking you if happiness is a wagon. Tell me what the bastard did. In detail and in pictures. Anna told through tears and sobs. Jenna had eyes like she was seeing an alien. Like it was saying something and she couldn't understand a word. So wise that the human mind can't comprehend. Jenna, I forgave him for cheating on me. He realized he cared more about me and came back to me. You're a fool. What does cheating have to do with it? He's been cheating on you from the beginning. Don't make indignant eyes. Did you know about it? Just like an ostrich hiding its head in the sand. But even an ostrich doesn't always stick its head in the ground because it knows what it's going to get. You're not thinking straight. You scratch. You want to scratch. Is your head made of wood? You know I'll always support you, even if I don't agree. But this is overkill. Let him cheat. Live if you don't mind picking up the scraps. This isn't about cheating. It's about bullying. He's gonna swallow it. He'll come up with something worse. Jenna, how can you say that? You know my Sergey, that's why I'm telling you. I'm sorry, girlfriend. I've been wishing you happy holidays for years. Wishing you happiness. I didn't believe it myself. I was always waiting for some mischief from your James. There were many mischiefs. God had mercy on you. I only found out now, and you don't believe me. If I tell you now that you should run away from him, you'd think I was jealous, wouldn't you? I don't have a family, so I thought I'd screw you over. I won't even ask if you'll leave him or not, knowing you won't. I'm sorry, but someday you'll remember my words for God's sake. Not that I don't wish you happiness. I just know it won't be happy with James. It will be without him. I have no life. He's my soulmate. There are halves for an apple, a pill, and a heel. Which half is your James? 3 guesses. Oh, I'm sorry. I've been talking. Jenna sighed wistfully. I'm gonna go. Life went on. Anna was still living with James. She couldn't ignore the cheating, but she pretended not to. What James was living with, he was the only one who knew. Maybe he'd really realized that no good can come from good. No, he hadn't. They would have lived like that if James hadn't decided it was time to move on to a new phase. It's been a while. Boring. Anna was on her way to work and was already thinking about how she would meet James in the evening. What would be so delicious to cook for him? He likes canned fish, but they haven't sold live fish for almost a month. It's been so hot. They're not moving the fish. The seller at the market, from whom Anna always bought fish, said that they had brought it to him. Carp did not have time to sell. He left them in the aquarium, threw ice on them. In the morning he came and there was soup. Here they are. Near the bus stop stood an old man in a basket, his carp twitching. Anna bought a carp, ran back home. She realized she'd be late for work. Well, she'll figure it out somehow. She'll cook James a fish tonight. It's always when you're in a hurry to do something wrong that the door won't open. You can't get the key in. It's like there's a key sticking out the other side of the lock. But it can't be. Anna remembers locking the apartment perfectly. James is at work and won't be home until tonight. What's wrong with this lock? The fish was bouncing around in the bag. Anna fidgeted, the key twitching, the pencil case on the door. Suddenly the lock turned. The door opened. James, blocking the passage, hissed. What are you doing here? Why aren't you at work? I'm a fish here. You're a fish. Well, come on quickly to the kitchen, piss by the scruff of the neck. But in the kitchen, he put her on a chair and told her to sit quietly and not to leave the kitchen. So she sat there. She heard how they were murmuring, giggling, rustling something in the room. Finally, her heels sounded and the front door slammed shut. Silence. Where's James? He's gone too. How can he leave when there's a crying victim sitting here? He went into the kitchen, knelt down in front of Anna, and said, Anna, I love you so much. I'm sorry, you fool. You realize that apart from you, everything is not serious. We're not going to get divorced over nothing. I'm sorry. Do you want to have a baby? I thought you wanted to. Yeah, I did. And now I'm suddenly realizing what kind of life that baby's gonna have. It's not gonna be a daddy. There'd be a temperamental, hysterical mom. Anna suddenly thought that if now he will take mistresses home, and it will be a trial balloon, she will have to run away from this house. With all the love in the harem, she is not ready to live. Suddenly, all at once, she realized that all love is gone. He experimented for a long time, tested her strength, and she didn't pass the tests. She broke. She looked at James like she was figuring something out, and then quietly and firmly said, I see. The step from love to hate had been taken. Anna felt all the unbelievability of what had happened, searched in herself for at least shards of the crazy love she had lived for so many years. But in the soul grew deaf, uncontrollably hatred. Everything came at once. Wild fatigue, prolonged insomnia, nervous anticipation of constant humiliation. The main thing, Anna instantly realized that there was no purpose in this life. Where was she going? What did she expect? What was ahead? It became creepy and scary. The thought crept into her head whether it was necessary. James didn't notice, and I hated a little bit. So nervous. His girl wasn't going anywhere. Too stuck. Doomed to love him. Everything annoyed Anna. Everything pissed her off. Wrong look. Wrong question. Wrong tone of voice. Doesn't say where he's going. Comes unexpectedly. Annoying to be around. Before, if James was going somewhere, she'd rush around the apartment, grab his hands, look into his eyes, beg him not to go now. And when the door slammed behind him, she thought with relief, "Thank God, at least I'll live in peace. If only he hadn't come back." I stopped waiting. I stopped meeting him. I stopped making lunches and dinners. At some point, I realized I didn't even hate him. Just indifference. Perhaps she should get a divorce, but she was so tired that she didn't even want to think about anything. Let it go, especially since James seemed to be gone, not showing up. Jenna could not believe that her friend had come to her senses poisoned by that ghoul. Said that it was necessary to divorce, so that this ghoul and could not come close, indifferently waved away afterwards. There is no strength. James himself talked about divorce. He has spent so many years building the relationship he needs unquestioningly. I obey blindly, forgive everything. Love, adoration on the verge of fanaticism. Apparently worried that Anna's some kind of retard doesn't cry, doesn't beg to come back. Divorce threatens to lose James forever. Should shake her up, that she'd fallen out of love with him. He didn't believe it. There's no way that could happen. He met the news of the divorce with indifference. 2 years without a divorce. Now you're going to get married? It's none of my business. Yes, you should get a divorce. I don't understand why you got married in the first place. It's understandable. I'm a fool in love. But why did you do it? You wanted a family. I'll never believe it. So you get a dog and train it for your own pleasure. Let's get a divorce. I'm tired of dogs walking on their hind legs. I want to live. You're all alone. It's not funny. You can't be alone. I picked you up. Who were you? A homeless orphan, James. Don't try so hard now. So you've hit rock bottom. I'll sign the divorce papers. Find yourself another dog. And James did, and pretty quickly. After the divorce, the doorbell rang one night. Anna answered it. Well, of course, James, he didn't let me forget about him. He visited from time to time. His creation must be under control. He didn't come alone this time. Behind him loomed a woman about 7 years older than him, a short half-elf on a round, unexpressive face, ineptly applied makeup. Long hair gathered at the back of her head. Lucy, come on in, James, I'm not going. Let me wait for you outside. I said come in. Lucy, are you coming in? I don't know what he said to you, but I'm not touching him, and it's not worth arguing with him. What was that? A demonstration of the tail's infinite power, not the trainer's talents. An attempt to provoke jealousy. Lucy was silent, afraid to raise her eyes, realizing the absurdity of the situation. James brought a bottle of whiskey. Lucy weakly objected. James, you know I don't drink. You have to, Lucy. You have to. Then the sweetest Lucy was in the kitchen beating Anna's soul. She's actually 7 years older than James. She has 3 children by different husbands, but no happily ever after. Gave up on her love life. Then James fell madly in love, just like she did back in the day, and you can't explain to her that it's not fate, it's misfortune. For a few moments of female happiness, we'll have to pay pain, humiliation, loss of self. Lucy won't listen to her. Other people's experience will only teach you your own rake. It's a good thing she's got kids. Maybe she can hold it together, or it could be a disaster. Yes, James is, as Jenna said, an extraordinary asshole. What's he doing picking on this poor, resentful woman? It's understandable, though. Anna's off the hook, and he needs to feel absolute power and unquestioning obedience to his will. Lucy, for this purpose, it's a win-win to wash feet and drink water. That's her. I wanted to slap her with all my might on her cheeks to bring her to her senses, to get a glimmer of thought in her eyes. It won't work. Anna knew James' grip on her. Lucy was doomed. James kept dragging her around, controlling where she was and with whom. He couldn't let Anna make up her own mind. Anna's indifference humiliated him. decided to live without me. Then get what you love. So you've decided you can live without me. You don't want to see, you don't listen to advice. Suddenly you're on your own. Well, good for you. My independent self didn't forget that you live in my apartment. Of course I left, but you didn't think I'd leave you the apartment out of sheer generosity. So be your own man and think about where you're gonna live. Well, that's a twist of fate. When Anna married James, she moved into his apartment from the college dormitory. Her unearthly love for James had so impaired her ability to think that she thought of it as her home. No, Anna, it's not your home. You want your independence, you've got a spoonful of it. Don't be fooled. James is gone. Anna understood. There's nowhere to go, no thoughts in her head. Not that there are any smart ones, sitting there staring stupidly at her phone. Oh, thought I'd call from the branch. She can't help. At least she'll listen to the long-standing institution code. If a friend calls, you have to drop everything and run to her. It's either mad love, heartbreak, or a life-altering collapse. They had been friends since that time, but Jenna didn't know much about Anna's family. She knew that Anna lived with her grandmother. She said her parents were dead, but she didn't give any details. Anna was crying. Jenna tried to calm her down. But how could she when James's meanness made her teeth chatter? Burning, ruining the girl's life. And now she's kicking her out of the house. She knows she's got nowhere to go. How can that be, by the way? Anna, you always kept quiet, and I was too embarrassed to ask. And to be honest, I wasn't too interested. Why did you live in a dormitory? Because your parents died? I know, but you're a city apartment. Where'd you go? She mourned her missing life. It was depressing, and her soul felt clammy. So she told Jenna everything she hadn't wanted to remember in years. Her childhood had been a happy one. True, then Anna did not realize what kind of childhood she had. She just lived with her mom, dad, and grandmother, who sent her away. Every summer she ran to the river and ate raspberries from the bushes by the fence. And my grandmother never said, as a neighbor to her daughter, do not eat raspberries. It must be collected, boil jam, and then in winter we will eat. Why put it off for later when it tastes best right now, right from the bush? Mother and father came every weekend, and Anna waited for them so much that from the very morning, she ran through the forest to the highway and stood there looking at the approaching cars. How happy was it when Mommy-Daddy's moms finally pulled up? Anna jumped into the car, and all the way to her grandmother's house in her mother's arms and kisses, she shared village news with her parents. But one day, Anna did not wait for her parents. She stood and looked, and they were still gone. It was no longer morning. The day is in full swing, and she's still waiting. They're coming right now, and her grandmother came and took them away. And they went to the village. Anna, well, they couldn't come. Don't cry. They didn't come today. They'll come tomorrow. They didn't come. Not tomorrow. Not the day after tomorrow. The day after tomorrow, the police came and said that Anna's parents were in intensive care. But Aunt Molly's husband, who was with them in the car, died. Aunt Molly was a relative of my mom's, either a third cousin or a third wife, a cousin. In short, a relative. They came from out of town to see the city. So what? Relatives in town. They've never been out of their village. On that unfortunate day, they were on their way to the countryside. What happened on the road? No one could remember. Aunt Molly was attending to her husband's funeral. Anna and her grandmother did not leave the door of the intensive care unit. The miracle didn't happen. Anna's dad died, and a week later Mom pulled through. She was transferred to a ward and survived. Even the fractures had more or less healed. But her husband's death was clearly a headache. She was so bruised, she looked like she was out of her mind. Grandma used to take candy to her, hoping that something in her head would snap when she saw her daughter. No, she seemed to recognize her, but no emotion. Molly, having quickly sorted out the situation, came to Nancy Mother Anna and said, "Nancy, I want justice. You ruined my husband. You left me without a breadwinner. I can't even leave. My husband is lying here in the cemetery. How can I leave him? I'll sue. You'll pay me alimony for the rest of my life. And this moral damage. So sign an apartment for me. Don't worry, I won't kick your Anechka out. Let her live with me and finish school. and you go to your mom in the village. If you don't agree, I'll declare you incompetent. I'll have to get a guardianship. The apartment will be mine anyway. I don't understand. Either Nancy was scared or she didn't care. But she gave the apartment to Raya and disappeared from her mom's house. And nobody ever saw her again. Anna stayed with Molly for a very short time. She suddenly found herself an urban unmarried lady in her own apartment and went into all sorts of trouble. There were always some drunken men hanging around the house. Parties and fights had become commonplace. The neighbors tried to run past the bad apartment as quickly as possible. First of all, you could be at the center of a scandal at any moment, or even a fight. Secondly, the whole entryway stank of rotten garbage and dirty bodies, and the smell of booze knocked them off their feet. It was pitiful for the girl, how she lived there. The cops knew the address by heart. The grandmother frantically collected documents to formalize guardianship. Otherwise, her granddaughter would end up in an orphanage. Mom was never found. Anna finished school in the village and then entered the institute and moved to the city. When Anna studied in the second year, her grandmother died. A year later, James appeared in Anna's life. It seemed like happiness. If they had told her how it would turn out in a few years, she wouldn't have believed it. But now she was sitting with her friends and Jenna, and she didn't know where to go. So you're gonna go to my place. You can't stay here. Let your asshole come tomorrow, and you're gone. Jenna, what's wrong with you? You have no life, so I'll chase you too. Let's go now. We'll think about it later. Let him go with his apartment. The main thing is not where to go from whom. You go now, that's all. There's nothing else he can do to hold you back. There won't even be a place to come and explain to some lowlife. You won't come to my place. I'll take the stairs. But I won't be able to live with you. What's that? I can live here, and so can you. I'm not asking you to live here forever. Let's calm down, we'll think about it, and we'll figure something out. Stop whining. Pack up. It won't get any worse. The neighbor's only energy is to lead. The girlfriend resisted, quickly threw her things in her bags and vacated the apartment. Now it was necessary to seriously think where to go and how to live further. But I didn't. I thought and thought. Jenna, I'll go to my grandmother's house. Is it a nice house? I don't think there's much trouble there. What are you going to work for? Where? There are no advertising agencies there. That's a problem. I'll stay at my own agency. I'll just work from home, we've got plenty of them. Of course, I'll lose my salary, but I won't starve. It's a good start, and then we'll see. How simple it is for you. You left the village 100 years ago. I'm sure you'll survive. After James, I'll survive even above the Arctic Circle. Hardened, you know. Hey, buddy, I like your attitude, don't I? I respect it, although going to the country is a bit much. But on the other hand, no asshole, James, can't get you there. By the way, you call the goat James. And the goat as a couple? It's fun, sure, but it's scary to even leave. It's a new life. It's done. Well, it's not ready, but it's not going to happen. If I've decided to try it, I'll try it. It wasn't far to my grandmother's village, but it wasn't easy to get there. There were no direct flights. From the city, you had to go to a bus stop. And there in half an hour, there was a bus to the village. Anna stood at the bus stop for almost 40 minutes. There was no bus. Across the road on the other side of the highway near a roadside cafe, a group of men of obviously Caucasian nationality sat at a table. Even across the road, Anna heard temperamental Caucasian talk. They had been looking at her with interest for a long time. One of the digits headed towards her. Beautiful, why are you standing here alone? Let's go to our place. Shish kebab, Marshalls, champagne, what do you want? No, thanks. Don't you like me? Look how slim and handsome I am. Of course you're handsome and slender, like a cypress. What's a cypress? Well, it's a beautiful tree that grows in the south. Are you calling me a tree? I meant to say you're just as slender and handsome. The Caucasian didn't seem to understand the compliment. He gave Anna a stern look and ran across the street to his friends. They were waving their hands, discussing something heatedly. Anna frantically searched for ways to escape. What are you going to do? She was alone in the middle of the road. The driver of a truck stopped nearby. A young boy with a ponytail on his head jumped out of the cab and ran across the road. He bought a bottle of water at the cafe and ran back. Anna rushed to the truck. "Take me with you, please." The boy looked at Anna, saw the Caucasians standing up. He assessed the situation and said quickly into the cabin. She threw her bag to climb up the impossibly high steps and plumped down on the seat. The Caucasians shouted something in his wake, probably not compliments, but Anna could not hear. "But you found a place to stand. What were you doing here?" "The bus to the village stops here." "I was waiting, but I didn't wait. I saw your bus about 5 kilometers away. Passengers scattered on the side of the road, and the drivers tinkering under the hood. So you're lucky I was thirsty for water. My name is Alex. What's yours?" "Anna, thank you, Alex." "You're welcome. Although, I do feel like a hero for saving the day. Took a girl out of the hands of the bad guys. Now you have to name your future son Alex like in the movies. It's no problem. Where do you want?" "I know, but I can't get you to the village. I'm late. I'm getting off at the fork. I'll show you where to drop you off. It's closer to the village through the woods." On the way, Anna learned a lot about her savior. Alex was 23 years old. He lived in the city, studied at the university on a correspondence course, and while working in a transportation company. About himself told that he was going to his grandmother's old house. Lives there a little. When asked why she didn't answer the question. Walked through the forest, stroked the rough trunks of trees, greeted the sun beating through the crowns, cheerfully danced on the ground, lifted my spirits, cheered me up. Now everything will be fine. No one will hurt you here. That's it, Anna. Your troubles are over. Anna realized that the changes in her life cannot be called happy, but in the soul of the closest, completely unreasonable joy. No need to remember anything. There is no need to wish for anything. Let it go as it goes. The main thing is to remember the feeling of happiness in the sunny forest. It will help. Is the village dead? No one. That's understandable. It's extremely hot. Everyone's gone home. No one saw Anna, but that's what she thought. The village is always on the lookout. A new person wouldn't go unnoticed. Grandma's house looked decent enough, so the wicket gate shriveled from before the paint on the fence climbed the rains of the wind. But still it was immediately obvious that no one lived in the house. It was as if it was deserted, like an abandoned dog. A dog, by the way. My grandmother had a purebred mongrel dog named Martin, despite the male name. It was a girl, Martin. When Grandma died, mine was taken in by a neighbor, Aunt Wendy. The door creaks a bit, but let Anna into the property. The raspberries used to grow strictly along the fence now smelled the will and sprawled on the floor of the plot. Almost ruined in reverently loved grandmother, rose bushes and hydrangeas. But they still resisted through the thickets of raspberries. Somewhere bright spots of color were visible. The keys to the house lay in the usual place. Above the door, the lock opened easily, and Anna entered the house she loved and remembered. It was cool and dry, no musty air. Apparently, Aunt Wendy had simply spit and ventilated it all these years. The house only smelled a little like dust. Anna took a seat at the table, peered at her reflection in the dusty mirror. A woman with a gray, tired face and dull eyes looked back at her. The feeling of happiness given by the sunny forest was suddenly gone. Dusty, dirty, empty, lonely. Where to start? Probably to clean up the dust and dirt. When you wash the floors, the most important ones come to mind. Well, that's settled then. Come on, Anna, grab a rag and let's go. Anna ran her palm over the mirror. Well, now the look became meaningful. If we clean the whole house, probably it will clear up in the brain. But if not, at least I will live in a clean house. Anna was so angry with fate, or rather with herself for the way she arranged her life, that for 3 hours washed all the dust and dirt, sat on the clean, wet floor, and realized that she could not get up to move. Who was there? On the doorstep stood Aunt Wendy, a little aged but still beautiful, with young and clear eyes. My God, my dear man, he was crying tears of happiness. I thought nobody wanted him. Here's Aunt Wendy in the town of Jenna somewhere on the Savior Highway. Alex, well, I'm at it. Remember, you're not alone. My nerves are shot. I'm on a seesaw from deepening sadness to joy at the sight of my neighbor. I've got to get a grip on myself, or I might have to go to therapy. Anna, are they all right? Yeah, I'm Aunt Wendy. I thought you sold the house. How long has it been since you've seen it? I've been waiting for the new owners to show up. And here you are. Didn't you get married alone? I got married. I went there and didn't like it, so I decided. Fuck that husband. I'll do without him. That's right. Why should we beautiful women have bad husbands? Give way to a worthy one. Anna laughed heartily. Oh, Aunt Wendy, have you forgiven your worthy one, or is he still a groom? Aunt Wendy's story was not just known. The village had been living her story for over 40 years. 16-year-old Alex and Peter, who was a year older, were very much in love with each other, waiting for her to finish school so they could get married. The girls envied Wendy. Everyone wanted such a devoted love boys, tried to beat Wendy away from Peter, but all was in vain. Those two saw no one else around. Peter dreamed of becoming a military pilot. After graduating from high school, he moved away and enrolled in flight school. Wendy didn't understand. What about me? You have to go to school for another year. I got into the school. You'll graduate, you'll come visit me, and we'll get married. That's not what we dreamed of. You're leaving me. You won't even remember me in the city. Wendy, what's 1 year? At least I'm gonna have a dream come true. I'm gonna be a pilot. Yours will come true. I guess mine's dead. Either you stay or forget about me. You can't do that. I'm enrolled in college. I want to be a pilot. Don't you want your husband to be a pilot? I don't want to be a pilot. I want you here with me. Peter left, and Wendy didn't forgive him. Then, as the years passed, she realized that the foolishness of a girl in love ruined the life of both the girl herself and the pilot test pilot Peter, who loved her. She quickly jumped out to marry a local mechanic, gave birth to a daughter, lived with him a year, and separated. Couldn't live with an unloving and drunken husband. Peter came to visit, but Wendy didn't want to see him. She didn't admit it to herself, but she was ashamed. Retired at 40, Peter returned to the village and persevered for many years to win Wendy's favor. The village was on Peter's side. Wendy was persuaded, tried to reason, but she was unyielding. She realized she was to blame for nothing. She had Peter to blame. But it was like she was playing the role she'd chosen for herself. No one understood, but she was embarrassed. To admit at 60 that Peter was her only love, and to become a bride at that age is ridiculous. You may laugh, but Peter is still in her life. I haven't told anyone in the village. I've got the urge, but I don't say anything. I'll probably tell you I'll give in. What's there to be afraid of? How much time is left? When I think that I'll never know how to live with the one I love, I get scared. I don't have the heart to tell him. I'm guilty in front of him. What do? I won't have time to marry you, though I don't think so. He'll come running if you mention it. All right, you'll have time to matchmake him later. I see you've put things in order. The house has come back to life. Turn on the refrigerator. I'll bring you something to eat. You're sitting on the floor, cold and hungry. Until Aunt Wendy started talking about food. Anna didn't realize she was hungry. Turns out she was, and she was hungry. Oh, Aunt Wendy, I'm going to the store, but you run, and I'll get something. There's not much to do in our store. Anna walked through the village and marveled. How has everything changed here? The usual village houses are strong and well-maintained, but some are poor and shriveled. And between them, suddenly a cottage with 2 floors and floor-to-ceiling windows. And across the street, there's a castle. It's unfinished, though. Apparently, the land here has gone up in value. Should we think about selling it? No. How can you sell Grandma's house? It saved her. Maybe her kids need saving too. At the store, behind the counter was Wendy's classmate Clara. Anna recognized her immediately. No one else could have such cheerful eyes and black hair. What began to happen? Hugs, tears, sobs, kisses. Clara didn't just have Spanish hair. Temperament-matching words. Hugging Clara, suddenly realized that he needed something at the store. What are you getting? I've got nothing. No, nothing at all. So flour, eggs, butter. Take also pasta and rice. We don't bring vegetables. We'll buy them in the village. Potatoes, onions, carrots. I'll bring them to you tomorrow. I have some in the cellar. Clara, give me something to eat now. because while I'm cooking, the pickles are choking. But the canned sugar is very good. Take some cheese and bread. It's enough to kill a worm. I've got 2 tomatoes left for lunch. What's not a cheese and tomato dinner? It's a dream. Thank you, my friend. Are you back or are you visiting? I don't know, but I'm staying for now. I'll come by tomorrow and we'll chat. When Anna came home and found on the doorstep a basket with a bottle of milk and 2 approving-smelling pieces of pie, one with cabbage and one with apples, Anna opened the can and ate straight from the can. It was a taste of college life, married life. That was impossible with James. No canned goods, no convenience foods. Just food cooked today, yesterday's soup, an occasion for scandal. Anna had never eaten anything tastier than this satire in her life. Although if I had starved for another 24 hours, the horseradish would have seemed like a carrot. I put the empty jar out on the porch. It wouldn't stink up the house. I'll throw it out tomorrow. That's it, time for bed. Anna turned off the light, but didn't go into the bedroom. It was creepy in an empty house. She sat down by the table. The moon was shining through the window. The silence was muffling, as if behind the walls of the house there was no village, no people, no one anywhere, only Anna. Also that damned satire that reminded her of James, not to think of him. To forget. How can you forget when every word, every deed is still judged by the same yardstick? What would James say? After her parents died, Anna was so afraid of loneliness that she tolerated paradise. After her grandmother died, the loneliness became unbearable, and she threw herself into a relationship with James, trying to cling to someone just so she wouldn't be alone. So much suffering and humiliation. And the end result is the same loneliness. I felt sorry for myself. Tears ran down my cheeks. How could I live such a miserable life? Why didn't I listen to anyone? Did not look from the outside, did not see the humiliation, eclipsed the woman. Anna sobbed, couldn't breathe. Felt like she was slipping into hysterics. Well, let it all go to hell. I have the right to go out and sob. The advantages of being alone. No one would hear. I sobbed my heart out with sobs and conquests in my voice. God, why should I do this? I don't want to know anything about them. Let them disappear, then it's my fault that I don't want to live so painfully. I don't want to live anymore. Why did they do this to me? She was sobbing, she couldn't stop, and in her head she was sobbing a little more. I'll feel a little better and then I'll calm down. With tears, the pain went away. The tension of the last few years was getting easier. I would have sobbed till morning, but strange sounds scared me away. There was a metallic scraping sound just outside the door. Silence. And again, someone scraped on the metal. Anna froze. The remnants of hysteria were coming out in sharp sobs. But I stopped crying. I didn't even think about going out and seeing what was wrong. Where to go when you can't get out of your chair for fear? There it was again. What's that? God, how scary. Anna heard footsteps along the wall. Someone is coming, crunching branches underfoot. A silhouette floated along the window, turned the corner, and silence. Who's wandering around? What's that scraping noise? Anna never went to sleep. Sitting up, listening, peering frightened consciousness, drew an eerie picture of fear. Anna sits on a chair, and to her from all sides are approaching ghouls and ghouls. So and sat until dawn. But nothing else happened. In the morning, I ran to Aunt Wendy's house. Someone had been walking around the property at night. I didn't mean to scare you, but I did notice someone wandering around. They didn't break into the house. You go home now, don't be afraid. That ghost only comes around at night. And I'll call the police officer, tell him to come by. Go on, try to get some sleep, you're like a ghost yourself. And our district officer is young and handsome. You can't show up like that in front of him. I'm only making eyes at the police station now. But who knows? Sleepless night, fears, sobbing. It's done its job. Anna fell asleep. She dreamt of her grandmother. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, smiling and stroking Anna's hand. Grandmother's palm was wet for some reason. Anna was surprised and woke up. Her hand was wet and a big red dog was sitting by the bed. Martin. Anna jumped up from the bed, flopped down on the floor. She hugged and braced herself. The dog is young, my golden one is alive. How did I forget about you? Anna, are you home? Oh, Martin waited. You know, she lives at Peter's on the other side of the village, but she often runs to this house, checking to see if the owners are back. At last, the great doggy happiness happened. At the door stood a young man in his 30s. Anna immediately thought it was the police. That's what Aunt Wendy had said. Young and handsome Martin is your precinct officer. Who are you? I've already figured it out. Martin told me. Why do you call her Martin? Everybody calls her Martin because it's a kind of martin. When they yell Martin, Martin, I turn around. I've even blurted it out a couple times. So I'm Martin. He's Martin too. Tell me what happened last night. How do you tell a nightmare when it's a bright day and everything seems strange but not scary? Someone was walking around the property, but they didn't break into the house or look in the windows. Just asking. What alarmed Anna the most was the metallic scraping. What was that? The door to the wooden porch is lined with stone. No metal. Martin stepped out onto the porch, looked around, walked down the steps, took a couple steps down the path, sat down, and scrutinized something in the grass. Then he turned to Anna. Go into the house. Close the door and listen, and then tell me if they sound alike or not. Anna stood outside the door and heard metal scraping. Then some kind of bang. Again some creaking metal. That's what she heard in the night. She jumped out on the porch and saw Martin with last night's can out from under his nose. In his hands, he dragged the can across the rocks. He let it go with a clatter, dropped it on the step, moved it to the edge of the step, and let it go again. I can't say for sure who stole your jar, but it was either a cat or a hedgehog. It's heavy, so he dragged it as hard as he could. It was very funny and a little embarrassing. You're panicking. That's a crime. If you don't mind, I won't record it. But the one who likes to stroll through other people's yards at night is serious. There was rarely an incident in the village that required the intervention of the police. There were family quarrels, fights, teenagers who were yelled at by the owner of the cottage, and they, in retaliation at night, dismantled the newly built gazebo. There were also thefts. A bag of mixed fodder from the farm his own piggy to please, or sausage from the processing plant. There was nothing to eat. Farmers did not hand over such criminals to the police. We sorted it out ourselves. Who was pardoned? Who was fined? The worst repeat offenders were fired 2 years ago. An out-of-the-way house and lot was bought by a visiting businessman. Who was Greg? Nobody really knew. Rumors varied. Some said he was a gold-digging industrialist. Someone swore and swore that the criminal authority built a good house in 2 floors, with a veranda on all sides on the plot. Instead of a vegetable garden, arranged a flower garden with paths and nets, over a low fence hanging snotty, skinny roses of all colors. He himself did not live in the house. Only sometimes came together with his family for a week. Another monitors the house and the plot. Hired neighbors, family of pensioners and glad, where they still earn money. But the neighbor on the other side, a former teacher, Adriana, was with Greg in contrast. While building his fence, he took 3 meters of land from Adriana. At first, she tried to negotiate a deal that didn't really need the 3 meters. If he paid, we could have had a good settlement. But Greg rudely and very lucidly explained where she should go with her meters. Adriana, to the surprise of the whole village, went to court and won. True, Greg neither paid the money nor moved the fence. 2 weeks ago, Greg's house was ransacked. A huge television set and an expensive lawn were taken by force. It was an extraordinary event for the village. Nothing's ever been stolen from a house before. If someone lost something from their plot of land, the village knew within an hour what was missing. Who took it and where did they put it? Greg came to the house the night before, but only spent the night and left in the morning. Martin was immediately told that Greg had taken the television set himself and brought it to the village so that a neighbor who had come to mow the plot would notice that it was missing. It didn't make sense. Why? But on the other hand, no one saw or heard anything. And that just can't be true. This morning, the very neighbor who watches Greg's plot came to Martin's house. One of the windows of the house is neatly exposed. Is it missing? He doesn't know. We'll have to wait for the owner, but the house seems to be in order. So Anna, your overnight guest, may not just be wandering around. He wanted to clean the house, but I don't think so. The house has been empty for years. It's probably closer to your property now that the landlady's here. But where to go if he comes again? It's okay. Here's my card, here's my phone number. My house is at the end of the street, right by the woods. You can call and come by any time. Where does our overnight guest go? I'll find out in an hour. Clara came by with potatoes and carrots. Wow, how cozy is your place? Why did the policeman come? Did you just wake up? Anna looked in the mirror. What a nightmare. She couldn't wash her face. She couldn't comb her hair. She was the one who talked to Martin like that. He arrived 3 years ago, and a year later he built a new house. Have you seen the house? Tell me, what kind of money can a cop use to build a house like that? If it's in the city, it's understandable. He's dirty. But what about here? Maybe he's a millionaire, and he's bored and plays precinct commander. Listen, I'll run. I'll come back later. We'll have a chat. With her eyes, she shook her curls at the gossip. She didn't let me get a word in edgewise, and she was gone. We had a good talk. In the evening, going to bed, Anna convinced herself that there was nothing to be afraid of. Martin said no one would go into the house. And what if someone would be wandering around the property again? So now Martin is sitting outside her door. She won't keep quiet. But I couldn't sleep anyway. I lay looking out the window. Here again, quiet footsteps on the branches fell asleep. A dark silhouette against the background of the window. Anna thought that the stranger stopped and looked out the window for a second, but looked. Then some kind of madness began. The silhouette rushed along the house, followed by a second one. What? Not a single crack of bushes, some kind of screams like a woman's squeal. Anna jumped out on the porch. What was she afraid of? Her feet were wrong. She tripped over a dog, which for some reason did not bark, sitting calmly on the porch. She's a fucking protector. The owner was attacked, and she's sitting there not even barking. Does she know everyone who runs around here? Anna peeked around the corner. No one. Cautiously walked along the side of the house. She reached the bushes and stopped. I don't want to go to the bushes. Her heart stopped. And then something big and scary fell out of the bushes. Anna screamed at the monster, grabbed her in an armful, and screamed quietly too. It's me, Martin. Where are you going? This isn't a Hollywood thriller where you have to search with a flashlight for someone to sew you up. Come on. Let's go inside. Anna sat, tried to drink tea, but it didn't work. Her teeth clattered against the cup. What was that? Hell if I know. Went after someone on your property, then tried to grab them. Got a kick in the ass from someone, fell off, and they ran off. But I was definitely following a woman. I noticed Martin was quiet. So it was ours. Why are you talking to me like that? It's strange after such adventures. Do you smell a shroud? Oh no, not creepy. It's scary. Then let's go to my place. Enough adventures for today. Come on. Oh, don't think it's me. Oh, God forbid. I don't think much of packing at all. It was a strange house at the precinct. 2 floors. The first floor is a living room and dining room. The second 2 bedrooms and a billiard room. There's nothing strange about the house itself. It's a very nice middle-class businessman's house. What's weird is that it's the house of a country precinct cop. You don't look like a cop. What do I look like? Businessmen or artists? It's got a metropolitan flair. Where'd you get a house like this? What's wrong with it? I like it a lot, but you can't have a house like this. It was a gift from Daddy. Who's Daddy? Hold on. Thomas Simmons. Your father. Yeah, the great musician Thomas Simmons happened to have a totally untalented son. Thomas Simmons was talented. What's a brilliant pianist? Winner of every competition imaginable. The best halls in the world were queuing up to organize concerts. His touring schedule was booked for years in advance. Martin knew from childhood that he was going to be a musician. There was no other way to be a musician. He got older. He realized that he couldn't reach his father. He wasn't a bad pianist, but he wasn't at the same level. He was always not even second, but as an extra, he didn't want to catch sympathetic looks. Daddy's not trying to help his son with his career. All in vain hears Shevchik not behind his back when there is no talent. Even Daddy will not help. It was unbearable. Thomas Simmons believed that there was no other purpose in life but to serve art. Martin Simmons adored his father, bowed before his talent, but decided that it was necessary to go their own way. They dabbled in Dad's footsteps, announced to his parents that he wanted to be a lawyer, entered the institute, and moved out of his parents' house. Dad didn't understand how he could trade his career as a pianist for a law office. But he didn't pressurize the child. Martin graduated. Dad, using his connections, began to place his offspring in all sorts of lucrative positions. Martin first tried to explain to his father that he didn't need a lucrative position. Then he got angry and rather sharply demanded to stay out of his life. Simmons Sr. took mortal offense. Simmons Jr. asked his superiors to send him to any hole, as long as it was away from New York. They were surprised, but they sent him, especially since there were no other applicants for the post of district officer in. So he broke up with his father, and he accepted the house as a gift on principle. A couple of months later, my father came to reconcile, saw what a high bar I live in, and suggested, since I'm so stubborn, to build me a house. I said no. Dad went into the hospital with a heart attack. Mom came over and said if I didn't accept the house as a gift, Dad would die and she'd curse me. What could I do? Now I have a house. Dad insists that he will help me with money with my salary. I can't afford a house like this, and you don't want the house or the money. I don't want to be obligated. No, that's not right. You don't know how to be grateful. They're your parents. They want their son to have a good life. They're in a position to help. But their son is so messed up in the head, he's willing to fight with his parents just to avoid being indebted. I think they're proud of you. Don't let us stop them from feeling needed. They don't like your decision, but they made it. If my parents were alive, I'd never fight with them. I wouldn't say a word against them. You don't realize how lucky you are. You have loving people around you, and the fact that they're successful and famous. It's a reason to be proud of your family. Enough of this heartwarming talk. Time for bed. My bedroom's on the right, your bedroom's on the left. What's in there? Anna woke up to a sun-drenched room. Light-colored walls, light curtains, comfortable, good furniture. How could one not want to live in such a beautiful house? Not to say luxurious, but expensive, beautiful, and comfortable. Yes, it's good to be the son of a famous musician. But the girls without a job and with problems in their personal lives, it's time to get out of your country house. Sheltered for the night, and thanks to Martin was not. Anna quickly packed up and left the house. She thought about locking the house. But Martin hadn't left the keys already. At least he had left a note. What kind of note did he write? Martin was waiting for her outside the house and the dog had started. The landlady had just turned up and disappeared again. The house was clean and cool. Why do we need a rich kid's house? We have to settle in here. Anna had a very productive day. She finally cooked lunch, cleaned some raspberries from the rose bushes. In the evening, she sat on the porch, tired but proud of herself. I'm doing great. I won't be lost. You can't expect me. No one will make me cry anymore. Who was she saying that to? To herself, probably Martin. Of course she did, but she won't tell anyone. The country life began in earnest. At night, no one caught Martin frightened, apparently. Native ad agency grumbled, but transferred a good employee to remote. It was a shame to lose her. Anna took a few orders and worked. Slowly, Martin came by. But Anna met him dryly and indifferently. She liked him. There was no way to show it. Autumn came, golden and beautiful, with rare rains and piercing bright sunshine. Jenna arrived over the weekend. I had to check on my friend, because she was fine on the phone. Yeah, she's fine. We have to make sure. She could be saved by a couple. You're a fucking asshole. Hey, hillbilly, how do you live here? You're not gonna believe this. Great, I wouldn't believe it. How can you live here without a movie theater and beauty salons? There's not even a mall here. Where do you buy your underwear? I go to the district center. That's great. That's the life. Don't bother with nonsense. Let's go to the city. You can stay with me. I'm not going. I like it here. Well, I brought some goodies. Let's sit and drink some wine and then we'll decide. We sat, drank wine, remembered student life, cried and laughed. A car stopped outside the house, a big one, judging by the sound. There was a knock on the door. Anna tensed. No one had ever visited her except Martin, Clara, and Aunt Wendy. And no one could come by car. She remembered the summer horrors with the epaulets. Do you want me to open the door or not? I'm looking for Anna. Tell me, does she live here? Who are you? You're a real piece of work. You promised to name your son after me. Anna opened the door. Alex was standing on the doorstep. How did you find him? How did you think of coming here? It seemed like a stranger, but joy as if she saw her best friend Jenna. She looked at Alex with interest. Who's the boy? Why does Anna hang on to him like he's her own? I know all my relatives and friends. And who is this guy? Jenna stood up and went to the door. He's a nice young boy, but Jenna is Alex. I'll tell you later. Hello, Alex. How come you're in the company of 30-year-old women? Jenna cornered Alex with her impressive bust. Alex, don't be afraid. The lady's just fooling around. Come on in. Anna told how she met Alex. We laughed at the story of the slender cypress. They didn't notice how evening came. Suddenly, it was like a nightmare come to life. Outside the window again, stomping and shouting. We sat in silence in the darkness when there was no more strength to sit. Anna rushed to the door, but was held back. We'll wait a little longer. What is it? Asked Jenna in a desperate whisper, and cannot stay here. Today you will leave with me and go to the city, whispered Alex. I'll take you away. At the door behind the drums. Anna, it's Martin, open up. Anna rushed to the door, opened it. Martin came in dragging a dying man in a hooded cloak, pushed a stranger into the room, said, here's your nightmare. You're going to be very surprised. Oh, hello, I didn't know there were guests here. He pulled the hood off the man's head, and luxurious black curls spilled over his shoulders. Clara Anna plopped down on a chair. No, what's Clara got to do with this? What would she be doing on the property? Why would she walk around here? And why scare her? Jenna and Alex didn't understand anything at all. Who was this woman? Why was she brought here? Who is Martin? Anna could only explain who Martin was. She didn't understand the rest. Martin sat Clara on a chair and told her to tell everything from beginning to end. What's there to tell? Just the usual adultery. Clara's a bright girl, no shortage of apartments. Every now and then, one of them beats the hell out of the other. But her affair was not with a local beau, but with a visiting builder, William. 6 months of unprecedented passion and dreams of a happy married life. But the local macho couldn't let the local sucker take away the brightest girl. It turns out they're no good for anything themselves. The local guy was found at night on the riverbank with stab wounds. Everyone knew he'd been messing around with William over Clara. What really happened there, nobody knew. But William was convicted, and he went to prison. 2 years later, Clara married a technician. And a couple more years later, he was released. William came from Clara's place, but never came to the village. He lived in the hunting lodge, and Clara went out with him almost every night. Why through my lot? Because it's the closest from your house to the bridge over the river. If you go around, it's an extra half hour. The house is empty, no one's watching. Convenient. Why have you divorced your husband so you don't have to run around? Doesn't he see that his wife doesn't come home every night? Yes, he does. But he loves me so much, I can't go for the high road. So what are we gonna do now? Martin, any thoughts? I do, but they're all foul. You, Clara, ideas, or I'll do something naughty. Clara left. Everyone was silent. No words. Jenna decided to lighten the mood. Martin, I've already realized you're a policeman. A policeman alone. You just solved a crime. Caught a fool cheating. You're not the one who gave my girlfriend nightmares. Let's drink to that. They stayed up till midnight. They didn't seem to know each other very well. But except for Jenna, they made such good company. When Jenna urged Anna to go with her, Martin was wary. When Anna assured the light that it is not necessary to go to the city at night, it is necessary to spend the night here. Alex began to worry. Eventually, Jenna and Alex left. Anna and Martin stayed. Martin, who went? I think the precinct's been sorted out. What does this have to do with the thefts from Greg? It doesn't. It's two big differences. I'll tell you later, before I figure it out. Autumn was no longer beautiful and golden, and it rained all day long. You couldn't even go for mushrooms. It's wet and muddy. Anna plunged into work. What else to do in this weather? Sometimes Martin came by, but they talked about nothing. Anna didn't let herself get carried away. Why should she be disappointed? Clearly a major boy, the son of famous parents, can't consider a life in a remote village the limit of his dreams. She'll play at being independent, and she won't be able to take her under her daddy's wing. And then what happens to her? It'll be just like it was after James. She'll either kill herself or run to the edge of Jenna, but there's nowhere to run to. Rain, rain. And then one morning, like a promise of change. White flakes of snow outside the window. That's good. Soon it'll be winter. Anna noticed that she was living a strange life. She used to cherish every hour. Now she watches indifferently as the days go by. It's gone. That's fine. Tomorrow it will be the same, as if she has 200 years of life ahead of her. Maybe she really doesn't belong here. She should go back to the city. Or maybe it's just that she doesn't know how to live alone. She soon had to remember how she didn't live alone. In early December, none other than the night and God James appeared. When she saw him on her doorstep, she was stunned. A ghost from the past. I wonder why he'd come. He didn't miss her. There was no doubt. His visit would not add to her joy. Well, hello, my favorite. It made me shudder to be treated that way. James put his arm around Anna's shoulders. Let's go inside. It's cold again, like hypnosis. I didn't even find it. What to say? James walked through the house without much interest. Even a little squeamishly looked at the furnishings and grimaced at the sight of his grandmother's old furniture. Then he paused for a long time and looked at Anna. She used to get comfortable under that gaze and began to think feverishly about what she had done wrong. And now, looking at his sultry, self-assured face, she suddenly realized why he had come. To make sure that she couldn't live without him. To test the strength of his power, to bring back a runaway slave. Apparently, something had become commanding. I wonder where Lucy went. Hardly had the strength to break away from James. On the contrary, she dissolved in him so much that there was no room for experiment. Or James, perplexed by the imperious look and theatrical pause, did not make an impression. Sitting silent, looking indifferently, no excitement, no joy, no anxiety. They won't even ask why you're here. Anna, I came for you. I showed my character, and that's enough. It's bad for you to be alone. Sometimes it's better to be alone. It's easier to start all over again. If it works, it won't work for you. James, you're angry. You don't know how to live alone. Look at the way you live. This house is a wreck. People don't live like this. There's old junk for furniture. You're sitting here all alone. You'll be feral soon. Or do you hope to start a new life and meet a new love? Don't hope for anyone. You can't love anyone but me. After all, it's true he pressed her so long with his unhealthy love, so subtly humiliated her that now she cannot love. She's afraid. And he didn't bother to come all this way to explain to Anna once again how worthless she is. So I've heard it all. It's time for you to go. You'll never get out of this shithole. They don't clear the roads in the winter. What do you mean? You're driving me away, aren't you? I came here to help you. Consider it helped. Your fiery speeches have cleared my head. Don't play dumb with me. James already yelled, and don't you dare talk like that. You're coming with me. She was scared. James hadn't allowed himself to yell all the mean things like that before, creating an ingratiating smile and looking on with the curiosity of an explorer. Never lost her temper at the agency where Anna worked young creatives. In order not to shake in front of the angry boss, used a fail-safe technique. When called to the carpet and arranged the demolition of the guilty, imagined that the boss on his head sits any funny animal, mouse, squirrel, and lizard. First, looking at the rope, and the boss is sure that you faithfully look into his eyes. Secondly, there's no fear. All your energy goes into holding on and not clamping down on your superior's face. Anna put James on the little green frog. It had balloon eyes and was hopping funny with its legs. James didn't realize what was happening. Anna could barely contain her laughter and worms in her eyes. Something was wrong. He furtively glanced in the mirror. No, everything seems fine. What the hell is going on? Do you hear what I'm saying? You're coming with me. There were footsteps on the porch. The door opened. Anna, what's that noise at your door? Was Martin. That's how it is, Anna, so the beast has gone James. I see, why don't you want to leave? You found yourself a country bumpkin, a fine specimen. Well done, Anna. It's not going to work out. James went to the door and glared at Martin with his trademark magnet look. But Martin didn't get it. Then he pushed Martin aside and ran out onto the porch. What was that? Martin asked in amazement. Anna giggled. Mash, the former. Wow, how formidable. What are you like? It's like you're bursting from the inside out. Anna laughed and told about the frog. You know how to have fun. Martin came with a purpose. Or was it a suggestion? No, more like a request, but she didn't know how to explain it more delicately. His famous father is coming back to New York next week. Thomas Simmons has an anniversary coming up, and he wants to celebrate it big time. The best restaurant is rented. A big social gathering with a lot of celebrities and officials of all stripes is expected. Martin cannot miss such an event. The only son of the great musician Martin, of course, you don't want to be a showpiece. At this Vanity Fair, he can't offend his father. Besides, knowing his mother's long-standing, yearly increasing desire to marry her son, he is sure that the daughters of all the celebrities and powerful people of this world are invited to the reception. He can't disappoint Mom with his absence either. She tried so hard, but smiling at someone else's daughters and complimenting them all evening is beyond him. So he thought that if he came to the reception not alone, at least the problem with his daughters would be solved. Now he had to convince Anna. No, Martin, I don't want to go anywhere. Besides, I don't know how to behave. They're not used to socializing. Bringing a strange girl to my father's anniversary party is indiscreet. You'll have to explain why I deserve such an honor. That you'll lie in the tradition of melodramas, declare that I'm your fiancé, and talk about unearthly love. I don't think so. After all, my parents are intelligent people. I can't believe I fell in love so quickly, especially Mom. She's sure I don't know how to love. I'm not cut out for it. That's why she's looking for the right match for me. Honestly, I'll come with a good acquaintance, a nice and intelligent girl. I'm sure they won't mind. They're worried I'm keeping them out of my life. Meeting one of my friends will make them happy. So I'm your friend. Of course you are. Aren't I? Don't be afraid. There's no royal etiquette. They're people who like to relax and have fun. Well, help me out, please. I'll think about it. But if I do, you have to help me. I don't know how to behave or even how to look. You'll explain it to me, and you won't make fun of a slack-jawed provincial, I grant you. In New York, in her hotel room, Anna stood in front of the mirror and looked at herself meticulously. She liked herself so much. Even if you were picky a lot, it was still good. When the dresses were chosen, Anna had a lot of fun. It was like a scene from the movie Pretty Woman and Mirrors. A beautiful woman in a cocktail, dressed the color of coffee and milk, with a stylish hairstyle, which she never had, and shining eyes, but just a queen looked at her. There was a knock on the door. Martin. Wow, a tuxedo. Now that's classy. It was exactly how Anna had envisioned the village precincts. The restaurant glowed with lights. A car doorman stood at the door. One cooler, another string of cars drove up to the entrance. The only thing missing was a red carpet. It's all Hollywood. Anna's legs were shaking with fear. Martin, we got her out of the car. Don't worry, they won't eat her. Just stay close to me. It's safer for you and safer for me. We'll save each other. Martin, I'm not being sarcastic. Now, it's a little early for starry-eyed fear. All the stars in the gym are even intact for the day. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Relax, you just showed up for dinner. I didn't bring myself. I brought you. Then I'm the one who's gonna have to take the fall. It's not like we're the heroes of the evening. No one's interested in us. Martin's parents were at the front door. Anna was breathless. The star of the world shakes her hand live, looking at the floor with inhuman eyes. Such a nice guy with a good-natured, simple face. On the posters, he looks more impressive. Next to her is a woman of extraordinary beauty and stature. You're not a queen. This is the queen. The festive part began. Congratulations, toasts, musical gifts. Anna had no time to be surprised. It's the minister. Wow, the king of pop. And this is a world-famous conductor of a symphony orchestra. Hardly ever again will have to be at such a reception, but impressions for life. Martin sometimes talked to someone, smiled meagerly in response to someone's greeting, and was frankly bored. Anna was staring intently, apparently at her daughters, but she, fortunately, did not notice. Too engrossed in what was happening on stage. When all the right people said everything they wanted, Nina Alexandrovna, Martin's mother, decided that the propriety is observed, and she can finally embrace her beloved son, and at the same time to assess how serious the relationship with Anna. He said he was just an acquaintance, but the girl is too good. Modest, intelligent. It's not that simple. Anna, excuse me, I'll take my son for a while. Martin looked anxiously at Anna. Don't worry, I'll be quick and follow Mom. Martin, I've missed you a lot. Are you staying long? No, I'm leaving tomorrow. No, tomorrow. We haven't talked. Daddy didn't even have time to hug you. Tomorrow you'll come to our house for dinner. At least we'll get to see you. We're staying at a hotel. Why don't you come to our place for the night? No, Anna's mom won't go. Yeah, I was wondering who you'd choose. I knew I didn't have a choice. But I like your Anna. Good girl, Mom, but there's nothing between us. Just acquaintances. Well, don't tell me that, I know better. There's an old joke. A son brings home 3 girls, tells his mom. Guess which one is my fiancée? That one. How did you guess? I didn't like her right away. I'm not saying I didn't like Anna. On the contrary, I'm pleasantly surprised. It's that you can't fool your mother-in-law's heart. Anna persisted. Critchito had to go to lunch. I didn't know how to sit down, what to say. But Nina Alexandrovna, understanding the state of the girl, quickly took everything into her own hands. It turns out that star people can be simple and heartfelt. You can talk and even joke with them. Anna left, almost in love with the older. After the trip to New York, Anna could no longer lie to herself that she did not care about Martin. Yes, she does, but what can she do? He still comes over to chat like a best friend. Talks about the village happenings, but nothing else. The day before New Year's Eve, Jenna called. I'm coming to your place. I want a country Christmas. I've got news to tell you. You're getting married. What? No. Wait, I'll tell you when I get there. Listen, does your policeman have a car? Did you buy tickets? They said the bus might not reach the village. If the road's not clearer at altitude, there's a fork in the road. So just in case, meet us at the highway. Anna did not have time to say that the policeman is not her. Jenna hung up. New Year's Eve is always nice. Even if you don't believe in Santa Claus. Anna asked Martin to bring a Christmas tree, and he said that the tree is already standing in his living room, just need to decorate it. Anna, why don't we meet your girlfriend and go straight to my place to decorate the tree? You owe me a Christmas dinner. Are the groceries in the fridge yet? No, decorate the tree. We don't trust you. I'm sure you bought the wrong groceries. Come on, I'll do an audit. I see gifts, Simmons Elders. There were no potatoes and carrots, and the farmers promised to bring meat in an hour. In principle, there's enough of everything. Even with a little too much. I wanted to pick on nothing. Jenna, when she saw the house she was brought to, lost the power of speech and walked around for 5 minutes looking at it. Then she dragged Anna into the kitchen and sang. Who is he? A policeman. That's how policemen live here. Policeman didn't cling to Anna's words. Who was he? A bandit? One asshole wasn't enough for you? Jenna's in trouble again. What kind of bandits are bandits now? Think about it. He's the son of a very famous pianist. The house was a gift from him. His father lives in this village too. He also gives concerts here. Do you know who Thomas Simmons is? Well, who doesn't know him? Martin, his son. I'm the Pope. I know his parents. I've been to their house. He absolutely is. Simmons, I swear to you. Well, no shit. When did Jenna get the stunning news? We were deciding on a Christmas table of risotto and shrimp. Squid? No way those creepy things could be herring. Olivier and dumplings. That's what we need. And a sandwich with red caviar, pineapple, and tangerines for dessert. Jenna promised to make a cake while the kitchen is bubbling and baking. We decorated the tree. Martin had a marvelous collection of Christmas tree ornaments. He collected them all over the world while he was on tour. Incredibly beautiful porcelain angels and butterflies, Chinese dragons, and wicker balls. Anna had no idea that there could be Christmas tree ornaments of such incredible beauty. And the Christmas tree turned out not too fancy. All the toys are different colors and sizes. But how beautiful is it? Under the chimes, breaking the champagne, and he made a wish. The wish will come true for sure. At Christmas, everything comes true. Just after midnight, the calls started ringing. Martin was talking to someone. Jenna was counting something, that's all. And no one called. Everyone who could have called. It got kind of depressing in here. Suddenly, Anna's phone rang. At first, she was scared. For some reason, she thought it was James. No, it's not his number. Anna, it's Alex. Merry Christmas. That's right, Alex, Merry Christmas. I'm fine. We're spending Christmas at Martin's. Jenna's here, so it's fun and delicious. How are you? I'm good. Back in town. I'll be home soon. Good luck to you. While the neighbors came in droves. Everyone felt it was their duty to congratulate the policemen. They sang, danced. Finally, rattled fireworks dispersed. Neighbors turned off the light. Only the Christmas tree shone. It was warm, cozy, and festive. Martin said he needed to go for a walk around the village. In fact, he decided to leave his friends alone. Jenna didn't come all the way out here for nothing. He probably wants to talk to Anna. Jenna decided to say everything at once. What to drag Anna? I'm pregnant. Jesus Christ, with what? The Holy Ghost, man. Alex. And he doesn't know. And there's no reason for him to know. I'm not gonna tell him. He's 23 years old. What kid? With a 30-year-old aunt. Maybe he's very noble, and he'll even get married. But what am I doing as a boy? Am I going to ruin my life? You wanted it, you got it, and he can live in peace. Don't you dare tell him about Kalina. I told you because I can't keep quiet. There's no one to talk to about something like this. When I found out I was pregnant, Alex resigned. Don't tell. He keeps calling and calling. Anna thought he'd already blabbed. Alex is somewhere on the highway. She told him. Where's Jenna? Well, that's it. Now we have to wait for Alex to visit. If he can't get Jenna on the phone. Jenna got married in college and got pregnant almost immediately. But she decided she didn't need a baby right now. So she had an abortion and divorced her husband. And I don't think the unborn child was the reason. As I got older, Jenna really wanted a baby, but it wasn't working out. She got over it. People live without kids. And now all of a sudden she's pregnant. And by some boy. You could tell him, of course, but the result is predictable. To hell with it. Jenna didn't care how he reacted. What mattered was that she was having a baby. Jenna should have told Alex. Come on, grown men get scared. What do you expect from a kid that you keep calling him a kid? He's a grown man. He didn't seem like a girl when I slept with him. Then it's up to him to decide who to live with and when to have kids. If you don't tell him, I'll tell him that he's young. It's a problem, but not critical. It's different. He and I are different. I'm a woman's boy. I'm a wall breaker. First I do, then I think, and he is staid, unhurried, judicious, such a strong man. If we have different scientific psychotypes, you better tell me, do you love him? One marries for love, not for psychotype. At the gate, there was the sound of a voice engine, and Martin and Alex entered the house. Girls, look who I've brought. Meet the guest. Anna jumped up from the table, threw herself on Sasha's neck, then took Martin's hand. Let's go for a walk. I already swore we should. The village sang and danced. Toward came a large company led by a bayonist. They didn't sing in a row, but very loudly. It was impossible to go around such a company. Martin and Anna were taken under the arms. They dragged them to the center, surrounded them, and hugged them. Anna suddenly noticed Aunt Wendy and Peter. They were walking a little aside under the arm. All this New Year's Eve hullabaloo didn't bother them. They were obviously talking about something of their own. The merry company danced on, leaving Martin and Anna alone. The windows of the house were lit up and the Christmas lights were flashing. The house at Greg's stood out as a black spot. Greg hadn't turned the whole village against him. He brought the van, loaded the furniture, and never came back to the village. He never removed the fence. He didn't pay Adriana any money, but wrote 7 reports against the villagers, accusing them of theft. Realizing that he could not live in the village, he decided to sell the house. But he failed to comply with the court's decision, and a ban was imposed on any actions with the real estate. The villagers got a little angry, saying, "That's what that boor should do," and they stopped talking about him. No one was sorry. They remembered how he called them village idiots and accused them of stealing. When they returned to the house, there was silence. Jenna and Alex were hugging each other and sitting under the Christmas tree. "We had decided to get married." Seeing the questions in Anna's eyes, Alex quietly said, "I love her for being older. Let her be her problem. I don't care who she's with." A miracle happened on New Year's Eve, and not suddenly. It was so frustrating. Why not with her? The next day, Jenna, who now seems to be doing well with her personal life, almost married lady, decided that it would be nice to get a girlfriend. She wants to be surrounded by happy people. And if Jenna has something in mind, she begins to act immediately and with great vigor. Why wait? It's obvious that Anna and Martin care about each other. "Anna, tell me, what's your relationship with Martin? Why are you two dancing around? It's clear. Martin lives in the village. He's been respected, consulted, asked for help for several years. But no friends, just buddies. Such a handsome, well-off young man. And the local girls, far from being timid, don't even try to get their hands on the prominent groom. The village doesn't know whose son he is, but they feel he's from their fields. Here's Anna from his garden. Jenna, I went to New York with him and there was no doubt. We'll never be together. We're from different worlds. That's not a figure of speech. I'm surprised we even met. Why don't you tell me all about it? I don't know anything about your alien." He told me about the great social gathering with all the details I remembered, and I felt the ordeal again. No one's interested in her. I wanted to say that I felt like a black sheep, but I thought that was wrong. A black sheep is seen, spat on, and chased away. It was simply not noticed. Though no one allowed themselves to disdain their looks, curve their lips, or speak with disdain. She understood that she was tolerated because she came with Martin out of respect. Lunch at the house was also a torment, always afraid of saying the wrong thing. Showing up as a shallow, ill-mannered redneck. The trip to New York still resonated in Anna's soul with resentment and shame. Although no one offended and there was nothing to be ashamed of. People on this account invented a capacious saying not in their sleds. Don't sit down, and there are even better ones about a pig's snout and a row of swine. So don't go where you don't belong. That's a shame, but you can't go against popular wisdom. They were wondering why Martin brought you to this party. Or you think you don't belong? Or do you think he's never been with a woman before you? But I never introduced anyone to my parents. But he's dragging you off with a country bumpkin. Is he an idiot? He didn't realize you were out of his league. So he had to. He wanted his parents to know there was an Anna, and had time to accept his choice. Oh, you're so full of it. He just brought a friend with him to keep the suitors away. Why do you think he's got tons of acquaintances like you? And none of them would have said no. I guess it's easier for him with me. I don't have to show my face and make an impression. It's like having a friend over. It's good you like this friend, not in a friendly way, but in a feminine way. What's the difference? Yes, I like him. What's the use? It's good again. What's good? I'm his girlfriend. Come over, chat, village news. Talk about everything. It suits you. Oh guys, don't make this harder than it has to be. We should be happy we met.